I need to explain how absolutely insane these past few months have been, because it's hard to just type it out so that people can understand, especially if you have not lived in this type of world where you're constantly just battling with medical care. So starting with Cleveland Clinic, we went up there. We knew it would be long. We knew it would be a crazy process, and we had already prepared ourselves for this, but we didn't prepare ourselves enough. So going up there, they said, oh, it would be pretty quick because you were on dialysis for 15 years straight. You're still on it. You're 31. This should be a pretty quick process once you're listed. All right, cool. So they give us a list of tests. They say, go do these tests. We'll make sure that we take it in front of the board as quickly as we can. And they made it sound like, okay, once you do this, we'll be good to go. It will go in front of the board. They gave us a 2-week time frame that they take it in front of their board once you have the tests. So it was about 3 weeks from the appointment that I start messaging them and messaging them and messaging them. And I finally get a message back that says, hey, I didn't get a chance to take it in front of the board yet. We're still working on it. We'll talk next week. Get a message back next week. The message is, go ahead, do these tests. These are the tests we want. And that was about it as far as, okay, here's the testing. So went and got a stress test, went and got, I think it was cardiogram and a few other things. Went and got those done and got them done through Cleveland Clinic. So it was traveling back and forth to Cleveland Clinic. And with doing that, a lot of time. We finished that. I got a hold of them. I said, hey, all of this is done. Now what? They said, we want you to go get a psychiatric evaluation. A psychiatric evaluation. I'm a counselor. All right, fine. I'll go get a psychiatric evaluation. Went to do that. The psychiatrist decides she wants 3 references to say that I am just normal and well-adjusted. I'm not even sure what she was looking for. So she got 1 reference from the person who went with me that day. That was Titus. Got 1 reference from him. I gave her the reference to a friend, and I gave her my mother's, and I also gave my brother's just in case. So she messages all of them, she talks to all of them, she takes forever to put her notes in because I'm constantly trying to get a hold of the social worker saying, hey, what's going on, where are we at with this? And the social worker's constantly saying, we're waiting for this, we're waiting for the psychiatrist. All right, cool. So nobody's indicating that they need anything else, they're just saying, let's get the psychiatrist and let's get this going. Psychiatrist gets back to them, says, okay, good to go. Then they send me a new list of things that they want, which is fine because they took it back up and they said, hey, there's a few more things we need. And on that list I noticed was a 6-month, what would they call that? It was like a health contract, a 6-month health contract saying that I would stay on dialysis for a full 4 hours without signing off at all, and it would have to be 6 months before they consider me. And I thought that was insane because the testing itself was going to take, with them scheduling it, it was going to be over 9 months to get into their specialist. But I was willing to sit on waiting lists and willing to go up the day that they called me. So that was the only reason that I got into their specialist so quickly. So after they said, hey, 6 months on this health contract, then we'll consider you again. That's insane. I have been on dialysis for 15 years. Now that I have kids and a life, and I sign off 30 minutes early twice a week to make sure that I get what I need done, you're saying I need to have a health contract. After 15 years of me staying alive, obviously I take my medications, obviously I've been on treatment the right amount of times, and my blood work as far as the treatments go were fine. It's my phosphorus and my potassium that I'm constantly up there with. But that had nothing to do with my treatment time. So constant, this is like insane to me. So I tell them, no, you know what, it's fine. I'm not willing to do this health contract. That's insanity to me. You guys didn't tell me about this from the beginning. I wouldn't have wasted my time with you guys if you had told me this from the beginning. We wouldn't have done any of this, because by the time that 6 month came up, I would need to begin testing again. Your tests are only good for a year, and not all of the tests are good for that complete year. So I would have had to start testing all over again by the time that they even brought me back in front of the board. They were willing to consider me again in 6 months. So I wasn't going to be on the list, I wasn't going to be active, and I wasn't even being considered. So at that point, I was just done. Contacted Hershey because we needed another plan. Got into Hershey really quickly, surprisingly. Went up to Hershey. Hershey is 6.5 hours from us. So that was quite a trip. Quite a trip. Didn't take the boys. We had to find somebody to watch the boys, which we went between my mom and my brother, and I had to just figure that out with them. Had to figure out the pets with them. It was trouble. Went up to Hershey. They said, this will be quick. We'll use Cleveland's tests. We have a few of our own we need you to do. It'll be fine. We just need you to see our urologist, because 15 years on dialysis, you're not making urine anymore. That's a problem, especially when you haven't for 10 years. So, okay, cool. Go see their urologist. I know we had to go back up, so we went for the initial appointment. We had to go back up for some tests. We had to go up for blood work there. We got blood work one day and had to go get blood work a different day because there was something about one of the tests that they didn't have or couldn't do or something because of the snow. I don't know. But there was some kind of storm or something going on that they couldn't do it. So we did that. The final appointment we did with Hershey was on a Friday. So that Friday we go up to see the urologist, thinking, all right, we see this urologist, we're done. Cool, we have all the tests done. And we just have that clearance that they want. See their urologist is like, hey, we can do all these other things too, because you have all these other problems going on. Because 15 years, they're thinking, all right, we're probably gonna have to do a bladder augmentation because it's gonna be small. We'll fix that. All right, cool, we'll fix that. Made it sound like we're good to go. They were gonna be in the room. They literally talked about being in the room during transplant. This is a Friday. On a Monday, I get a call about 10 a.m. saying, hey, our transplant clinic's closed. We can send your records to somewhere else. Do you have somewhere in mind? No, of course I don't have somewhere in mind. What are you talking about? So Hershey just dropped that bombshell on us, and asking if we have somewhere in mind was just absolutely insane. So now we have Cleveland and Hershey off the list. So at this point, I was through with the day. I was like, all right, can't think about anything else today. Done. The next day, got on the internet, looked up a bunch of other places. Found a few places in Philadelphia and a place that was in New York City. So scheduled with every place in Philadelphia, and then the next day scheduled with New York City. Had everybody call me back within 2 weeks, and they all had me scheduled for their evaluations. We went to Philadelphia's. We had two or three in the same week. I can't remember now. But went to those. Everybody said, it's going to be quick. You'll be at the top of the list. 15 years on dialysis. It'll be fine. We'll be good to go. We can use Cleveland's test. We'll use some of our own. It'll be fine. That wasn't the case with any of them. Not a single one of them. So Penn did not use any of Cleveland's. I don't think they used anything except the stress test. They wanted me to see their cardiologist, even though there's a cardiologist here. No, didn't want me to see them. Wanted me to see their cardiologist. I talked to Einstein, Einstein said, no, you can see any cardiologist. So Einstein called me, I think, last Wednesday. On last Wednesday, they said, hey, we contacted the National Registry. You're on the list, but you're not active. You can go active once you go get this, once you go see the cardiologist and get a clearance. And I think it was, let's see, cardiology. And there was something else simple. Oh, they wanted a copy of my pap smear. So that was easy. Had that sent over to them right away. And that next day, I had a cardiology appointment with Penn's doctor. So I get up there for Penn's doctor with cardiology, who Einstein said they would use anybody's. Penn would only use their doctors. So get up there with Penn's, and I tell him what's going on. I said, you had no heart problems in the past, your scans are fine, you have these other cardiology clearances, you'll be fine. He did EKG or something. That came up fine. He looked at my scans, things were fine. Sent it over to Einstein. Penn, I'm sure, got it. Whatever they're doing in their own thing. So, on, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, I think it was Friday, I get a hold of them and I ask them what's going on, and didn't really get many answers. Then when the social worker calls me back, she says, I brought it back up in front of the board. What you need to do now is to go to our cardiologist. Are you freaking kidding me? Why do I need to go to your cardiologist? I just got a clearance from a different cardiologist. So no, they won't take that cardiology. I have to go to theirs. Holy hell. I think I have theirs scheduled. Theirs is scheduled for a week and a half from now. So I'm going back up to Philadelphia, almost 6 hours from us, going back to Philadelphia again to get a cardiology clearance. We had just been in Philadelphia and got a cardiology clearance. So this is going to be the third cardiology clearance I have, because I also had one from Cleveland Clinic. Oh, and one from Hershey. So 4 cardiology clearances, but they won't accept them. So, whatever. Going to get Einstein's cardiology clearance. Then they wanted me to see a urologist. Can't even get a hold of theirs. Not sure what's going on with that. I've contacted theirs a few times. I've tried to contact their social worker again to try to get some more answers on the testing and what's going on and what else they could possibly need, because I'm worried at this point, since she was incorrect the first time that she called me and got our hopes up, that she's going to be incorrect about this next thing, and I'm going to be scheduling out another few months, and all my other tests are going to be due. She told me if I wanted to be listed before October when my tests are due, I needed to make sure that she had that cardiology clearance, which I said I can get it to you tomorrow. I told her that on that Wednesday when she called, and I got it to her right away. As soon as I had it in my hand, I took pictures of it. I sent it over to my mother, who then faxed it to them, and then I called to make sure that their hospital had it. So from there, tried calling Penn to figure out what's going on with Penn, because at this point I know now that nothing's happening with Einstein, that I am listed and not active, and that it's going to take a lot to get me active. So, I mean, we got a little bit going, but not a lot. So I contact Penn and say, hey, what's going on with you guys? They said, you don't have a social worker. What do you mean I don't have a social worker? I've been trying to contact the social worker that you guys gave me the name of for 2 weeks now. So that's why I'm not getting any answers or any responses. Like, are you serious? And I called and left 3 messages now. No answers. Just to find out that I don't have a social worker. So called, the guy sent over a message, and still nothing from Penn. But I get into my chart to figure out, maybe they wrote something down. No. On my chart, I see that they are talking back and forth to each other, and somehow I'm getting the message. I'm not sure why, but they said opioids show up in my system, which they then put on a care plan that's an issue. And at this point I realized that they're not even looking at my med list, because in my med list they would see opioids right there, right at the top. They would see the ones that I'm on, which are hydrocodone. How are we even at this point? So I'm ready to lose my freaking mind with just about all of this. But on the dialysis end of this, dialysis is having a hard time sticking my extremely old fistula, because it's been 15 years and the thing has just gotten hard as a rock, because that's all from being stuck. So they're having a hard time sticking it. And instead of getting 2 sticks, they're doing 3 sticks just to try to get it in, because it's crap. So I went to my doctor today and he looked at it and he's just like, we could turn it into a graft. So instead of having a fistula, I'm going to have a graft. So if I would have been able to get onto the list and get active and get this done, I wouldn't need to be turning this into a graft. But instead, we're now turning this into a graft. And on top of everything, 2 of the 3 hospitals want me to get my parathyroid out, which Einstein said will wait until after the transplant to do that, just to see if the numbers go down. Nobody else is willing to wait until after the transplant. They said, no, we're going to do this before that. One hospital said they will not do the transplant without doing a bladder augmentation, without even having any results of a testing or anything. So it is just a mess. It is a complete mess. And when I got a call from Hershey just saying, hey, we'll transfer your records, you'll be fine, things will be good to go, it was, no. First off, it was hard for anybody to get my records. I don't think Penn still has them. The way that they're talking, it sounds like they still don't have the records from Hershey. Everybody's going off records from Cleveland right now. Hershey has some records that they're even going from Cleveland instead of their own, which it was really confusing to me. It's not easy. And I don't know what other people are doing that were going through Hershey. Because with me going through Hershey and then switching over to these other hospitals, I'm going through testing all over again. And I have to go through their specialist for everything. You get a list of specialists and things that they want done. The reason that I'm getting these done are because we have the ability to travel. Luckily, we have a car that can go that far. I have the ability to just get up and go when they call me. I'm on waiting lists. I'm calling them constantly to see if there's appointments available. I'm looking online constantly to see if appointments pop up. I'm able to do all this. For somebody who would either have a caretaker or do not have reliable transportation or have to schedule things so that they're around the same times, they are doing this months and months apart. One of their specialists from Penn was not scheduling until next year. So all of my testing that was already done would need redone all over again. It's insane to me what other people are doing. And that this stuff with Hershey is just, all these people are getting screwed by going to new hospitals. I can't imagine what they're going through. I can't imagine what people go through that are just starting to do the transplant. Because this is just absolutely insane. They keep saying that, it's going to be hard to take the medications and you have to go and get these psych evals because we're not sure that you would be able to take these medications. All kinds of weird reasoning and all kinds of having to prove yourself. They even call the dialysis center to make sure that you're doing all this, which, whole nother issue. A dialysis center should have no input at all on what's going on with somebody in transplant, because they get money from this. If you are off treatment, DaVita's not getting money anymore. There's no reason for them to say, yeah, go ahead, transplant this patient. That's one less patient that we have. Seriously, why would you do that? That's giving them That's them having their own interest in this. They should have no say in it. And it really seems like a money grab to have 4 different cardiologists say, yeah, you're good to go. Because if Einstein's cardiologist says, hey, there's something wrong when I get up there, I'm going to think there's something wrong with their institution rather than what's wrong with my body. You don't have 4 cardiologists going, yeah, everything's fine, and then a 5th one going, no, I found a problem. You found a problem, okay. Yeah, no, that's really concerning. This whole thing is just, it all needs looked into by somebody. It can't be looked into by the hospitals. The hospitals cannot be responsible for looking into themselves. And that's what's been happening. These hospitals are their own checks and balances, and that's not right. That is not working out for anybody. But that is literally the insanity that I'm going through. I went to one hospital. It started out one hospital for one operation, which was the transplant. And now I am up to needing 1, 2, 3 operations plus the transplant. There's nothing wrong to need these. It's just insanity to me, because the parathyroid, it has gone down 2,000 before. Right now it's up to 3,000 and something. In the past it was up to 5,000, and it has went down 2,000 on its own. So I know it would go down again. Without trying it first, I think that's a huge concern and a huge red flag. The hospital should be willing to try it first, like the other hospital is. And then to say, everybody needs to see their own cardiologist. I'm going to huge hospitals. It's not like I'm going down the street to this tiny little doctor's office, and this tiny little doctor's office is saying, yeah, no, we're good to go. No, we're going to world-renowned hospitals. Like going to Penn, that is a huge hospital. And for one place to not accept another place's cardiology, that's insane to me. It's just all been one big mess. I am sick of this big mess, and I am full of more appointments all over again when I thought we were done. Next month, there's 3 more appointments. Actually, this month there's 3 more appointments in a week. It's crazy. And none of them are even scheduled around each other. They are scheduled within having to go there and back, there and back, there and back. It's a lot. It's a lot for our family. It's a lot for every other family that has to do this. Like, this should not be okay. And people who are doing multiple listings are really getting screwed when a hospital is not accepting another hospital's reports or their specialist. That's just crazy to me.